Hey guys, and welcome back to Art Club. Excited to have you guys here. Excited for our next project. Yesterday's turned out so cool, so I can't wait to see how today's turn out for you guys as well. So we are focusing again on different patterns and textures and how that can really just lead to a super fun, interesting, visually pleasing design. Today our base picture is going to be, it's going to look sort of like a poinsettia, so a flower with kind of pointy petals. So if we're looking up here at the picture, that is what we are going for. So let's get started. We're going to need a white piece of paper. We're going to need our Sharpie marker, pencil, and then of course our really fun markers that we have as well, and a lot of imagination. So the first thing that I want to remind you guys is that I always work with a Sharpie marker so it's easier to see on the screen. But if you want to start with a pencil first and then go over the top of it with your Sharpie marker, definitely feel free to do that. That way you can erase if any mistakes are made initially. And then also, if I'm going too fast at any point in this video, I do try to keep them short, but feel free to pause and rewind as needed. So step number one is going to be to draw a circle in sort of the upper middle portion of our paper. It's just a smaller circle for the center of our flower, something like that. Now off of this circle, we're going to be drawing a whole bunch of petals, and I'm choosing to do petals that have more of a point to them. So they're going to look something like this, like that. And what I tend to like to do is I like to go across from each other, because this way I get some cool overlapping designs that go on. There we go. And across again. Like so, and now I can kind of fill it in with some petals that are in the background, like that. So see how that fills in those spaces? And maybe some of them only have one in between. There's not any set number of petals. I said kind of anywhere between 7 and 11 I thought seemed like probably a good number, but you guys can decide for your own what you think works well and how you want yours to look. And we'll do another big one over here, just like that. So now I've got my flower completed. My next step is we're gonna leave a little bit of space around our flower that's like a negative space where we're not gonna do any designs, and it's gonna help make our flower kind of pop out a little bit more from the background so it doesn't blend in. So I'm going to leave about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to sort of trace around my flower almost as if it was like glowing and had a border around it protecting it. So tracing around where those petals are. And I know that this space then that I'm drawing, the space that I'm creating here, I am not going to be putting any patterns in that space. It's going to be the only part of my paper, in fact, that doesn't have patterns on it. And it's just going to kind of help make that flower stand out from the background a little bit more. Here we go. Almost done with that. Bringing it back to where we started, and there we go. So now my flower has this kind of border around it. Once again, that is not going to get patterns when we get to that point. So now I'm going to do really big abstract petals in the background. So maybe one kind of comes like this. Oh, my Sharpie is starting to die. Might try to see if my other one's working better. Here we go. I always use them up all the way until they stop working. So there we go, some big petals like that. And in some of these spaces you might not even hardly see that it's a petal anymore. It might just kind of look like an abstract shape, and that is good too. So here we go, one more over here. Maybe I'll draw one more line there, and I think that looks good. All right, you guys, now comes time for all of our patterns. And I know sometimes it can be a little bit tricky figuring out like, oh my goodness, this is, a lot of different areas to create a pattern for. So in our slides, I have put some different pattern ideas on a few of the slides that you can look at. So feel free to pop into the slides and pull those up. You can always look online for other patterns too. Sometimes it's also fun to just say, hey, hey sibling, what shape do you think of next? And maybe they'll say triangle, and you can make a pattern out of that. So sometimes that's kind of fun too, to just almost turn it into a game. So I'm going to decide upon a pattern, and I'm going to start to draw that in here. Okay, so maybe I choose to do sort of like a checkered pattern, but I'm going to have it follow the shape of this circle. Kind of make it look almost like it's popping out a little bit more. So something like that, and then like this. That's pretty cool because it kind of almost makes it look three-dimensional, like it's popping out of the camera a little bit, right? Popping out of the paper, I should say. That's pretty fun. Okay, so let's see. What do I want to do next? Maybe next, actually, you guys, what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a quick switcheroo and, woo, look at this one. This already has a bunch of patterns drawn in it. You can see I used some swirly twirlies. I did some lines and then like almost like triangles. So I did 3 lines this way and 3 lines that way, back and forth to create that. This one I just made some squiggly lines and then had the arches go in opposite directions. This one I drew circles and then just some lines through it. So we're just going to continue to decide on some different patterns that we like. So maybe my next one, I'm going to draw lines that come out like this, and I'm looking at one of the patterns here. So you can either decide to do ones from your head, or feel free to look at the patterns. That's what they're there for, to inspire us, to give us ideas. And you can even take those patterns and tweak them and make them uniquely your own. So I'm starting off with stripes here, and I'm going to have it where now I do some angled lines that meet towards that center line and almost make it look like it's coming up into space again. So now this side is going to go in this direction. So it's almost like making a chevron with lines in between. Here we go. I'm trying to make sure at that center point, I'm going to try to make sure that my lines connect. So I'm always working from where I last met the center line going down there, so that I know that they're going to connect. There we go. And you know what? I could do this for hours, you guys. This is so meditative, and you just kind of zone out, right? Like, it's so fun to do. So you're going to continue to do this. Each different area is going to get a different pattern. Remembering though, we are not going to do a pattern here at all. But over here, we'll start doing those patterns again, so that when we're done, our goal is that it's going to look something like this. So we're going to definitely be coloring those in as well. You can see that I've started to color them in, and this might take a while, right? Like, this might take a good hour or so. So feel free to spread this out. If you don't want to sit down for an entire chunk of time and work on all of it, maybe you work on it a little bit right now, maybe a little bit more later in the day, or the next day is fine too, but have fun with it. I can't wait to see how they turn out. And don't forget, if you're able to and willing to share it into our Hall of Fame, because it's always so wonderful to see what other students are creating. We can already start to see some projects that have been done by others So to add yours in, just come on in, find an empty one, and then you're going to claim your frame by putting in your name right down here, and then go to Insert Image and take a picture right with your Chromebook camera, and that'll add it in for you. I cannot wait to see what you guys all create, what you come up with, and see what wonderful little artists you all are. We'll see you next time, guys.